All right, I think we can begin now. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nihal, and I'm the e-Yantra campus ambassador for Manipal Institute of Technology, Manipal, and I'm also the 2020 to 21 e-Yantra robotics competition participant. With me, I have Tejas Salian, who's also a previous e-Yantra participant, and the aim of today's orientation is to provide you an overview of what e-Yantra is as an initiative, what the e-Yantra robotics competition is, and also along with that, Tejas will be providing an overview of the robot operating system or ROS, since that is a skill that is very much required in this competition. So we figured we'd give you guys a sort of head start on getting to know what this thing is. So before I begin, is there anyone here who has not heard of e-Yantra or the Yantra robotics competition in any capacity at all? Okay, one person. All right, so given that almost everyone has had some exposure to Yantra, that kind of makes my job easier. Just give me a moment to share my screen. All right, is my screen visible now?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right. So, welcome to this orientation on e-Yantra and ROS. I'll be taking this session forward by telling you first about what e-Yantra is, and then Tejas will be taking over to give you guys an overview of what ROS is and the connected ecosystem that is there around it. So, starting with e-Yantra. So e-Yantra is a initiative which is sponsored by MHRD under the National Mission on Education through the ICT program. So this is an initiative where the MHRD wishes to create a greater level of innovation and technical literacy amongst all students and innovators in the country through initiatives like e-Yantra. So e-Yantra is handled by IIT Bombay, and the mission statement is essentially planting the seeds of innovation and incentivizing students, school children, college students to seek to find solutions to real life problems. So that is our calling as engineers after all. Coming to the base programs under eYantra, eYantra has three main programs, so to speak. The most prominent being the eYantra Robotics Competition, which we'll be covering in this orientation, the eYantra Innovation Challenge or eYantra Ideas Challenge, which is a faculty plus student challenge, and the eYantra Symposium, which is another initiative by eYantra. And the eYantra Summer Internship is a program for winners of all the previous challenges and events where you can come to Yantra cell in IIT Bombay and work on an internship over there. So for now, I'll be focusing more on the Yantra robotics competition later on. There are also many other facilities under Yantra, such as the ELSI, Yantra Lab Setup Initiative, which is essentially a way to bring Yantra's physical presence to the various colleges that are there. So MIT Manipal also has an ELSI lab in the mechatronics department, and the aim of the ELSI lab is to help the students get better access to any of the physical facilities that can be provided Yantra or any of the resources that Yantra can provide. Similarly, to spread the idea of eYantra, we also have the new eYantra campus ambassador, which I am a part, and I'm holding this orientation to essentially spread the idea of eYantra to you all. And similarly, we have many other initiatives such as the farm setup initiative, which is towards aiding farmers or aiding agriculture. The eYantra newsletter, Kavi's Corner. So I'll be going over all these in a bit. So coming to the Yantra robotics competition, so it is, you could say, a one of a kind competition which focuses on something called project based learning. Now, most competitions have a certain problem statement which is directly provided to the participants, and participants are expected to know how to tackle that problem statement. So that's the usual modus operandi of most competitions. However, e-Yantra is different in the sense that you do not require any pre-existing prerequisites or any sort of skills to participate in this competition. The model that we follow is learning, is more of a project-based learning approach where the competition will provide you the resources so that you can get up to speed with the required skills that are required for your particular problem statement or particular theme, and then after that you can then actually start working on the problem statement. So that way it brings everyone on the same page, and also it lowers the entry barrier for many students who wish to foray into robotics, embedded systems, that sort of thing. So don't be afraid if you don't know much about any of the skills that will be required. You will have the opportunity to go through all the resources that they'll be providing and learn on your own before you can actually proceed with the problem statement. And talking about the scale of how big this competition actually is, so this graphic shows the locations from which students have registered from for eYRC in India itself. We also have spread to many other countries in the Indian subcontinent, such as Sri Lanka, Bhutan, even Britain, and many other countries this year too. So you can see the sheer scale of what you'll be taking part in as a participant in eYantra. Coming to the themes for the competition, the eYRC relies on certain sets of problem statements which are called themes, and each theme deals with a certain application based problem statement. For example, VergiBot, which was the theme that I was in when I participated in eYantra last year. So you can see that these are the themes that were there last year. The themes for this year will be informed to in due time, but I can say that the general idea of all the themes for eYRC 2021 to 22 will revolve around agriculture. Coming to the themes for the previous year, the theme that I was part of, Vargipots, dealt with an industrial warehousing application where you had to manipulate an industrial robotic arm to perform pick and place sorting, that sort of thing. Uh, then there are many other uh, themes such as Vitran Drone, which was a drone based theme where you had to pick and place packages from one point to another. Sahayak Bot, which was more of a warehouse optimization thing. You can go and check out the YouTube channel for eYantra, where they have theme films that cover all the themes that were there in not only the previous year, but the years before that. This year, the previous year and this year, the competition is going to be mostly online, as opposed to the years before that, the pre-lockdown era, where we had access to hardware kits or hardware themes. Uh, for this year also, we do have some hardware themes, but they are limited. And for the most part, the competition is online. So with regards to that, the various skills that will be required, so you can see them here. So mainly robot operating system or ROS, image processing, knowing drones in the case of Vitran drone, control systems, path planning, embedded systems, so on and so forth. So I'm stressing again, you don't need to know all this before. You can very well go into this competition without any prior knowledge, and you can learn as you go along before you actually tackle the problem statement. Now this eYantra robotics competition is a student only competition. We also have another sorry, we also have another challenge, so to speak, called the eYantra Innovation Challenge or Ideas Challenge, which is a faculty plus student challenge. So this is available only in ELSI colleges. So Manipal being an ELSI college can participate in this challenge along with any other colleges that also have ELSI labs. And the faculty head for the ELSI lab is Mr. Vikant Dadi, and the the eYIC is essentially a faculty with student initiative where a faculty and a student or multiple students come together to propose an idea to tackle some problem statement that is being provided for this challenge. And the aim of this challenge is to encourage students to use the LSI facilities. So apart from just eYRC, eYantra wants to ensure that students can also get greater access to the various resources that eYantra has, and also getting more comfortable with how to actually present an idea, how to pitch an idea in front of a panel, and get more bigger platform for students to project their ideas and uh, innovations. Coming to the eYantra talks, we, apart from the competitions and events that we hold, we also have a very good uh, ideas program, so to speak, or a technical talk show where we call Kavi's Corner, where we have eminent guests of IIT Bombay faculty such as Computer Vadan, which was held with Professor Paritosh Pandya from IIT Bombay, or Challenges in Building Advanced Technology Internationally, which was with Sri Tapan Mishra from ISRO. So that way we have a lot of very eminent personalities in the field of robotics, automation, agrotech, disaster management, all these very varied fields and occupations. So this is a very good way for interested learners to get greater exposure to the various fields that are there, and hopefully they might get a spark of innovation from watching maybe one of these talks. Similarly, apart from professors and eminent personalities, we also have the eYantrix initiative where students and eYantra alumni, so students who have participated through eYantra Robotics Competition or eYRC, they share their experience participating in these different initiatives. So you can also get the more current gen or peer related feedback about how what they felt while they were going through this, what their experiences were, so on and so forth. Coming to 2020 highlights, we had a keynote on Sanskar of Innovation with Sri Tapan Mishra and a panel discussion on role of eYantra labs in industry academia interaction. Innovation and entrepreneurship workshop, which was done previously in 2020, and a discussion of case studies. Now, all these were very important, especially due to this was also the year where lockdown happened, and there was a very great shift in everything, be it how the eYRC was conducted, be it how eYantra operated with respect to their the entire initiatives that were there. So these were the highlights that were there in the previous year, and you can follow the Yantra channels, the website, for any more highlights that will be coming up in this year. Uh, Coming to the EYSIP, the summer internship, uh, this is a program that's available only to those who have won the finalists of eYRC and the ideas competition. And the aim of this program is to give finalists a chance to actually work directly at eYantra headquarters, so to speak, in IIT Bombay, and give them a platform where they can work with industry experts, learn how to implement the skills that they uh, honed during eYRC or eYIC. And it's a 7 week internship program. In the previous year we had previous year, as in this summer vacation, this current summer vacation, we had around 100 interns, and the final year students who performed like pretty well in the internship program were also offered project staff positions at eYantra. So if anyone is interested in pursuing the academic or the research sort of thing, this is also a good path for you. And the project work that was done by the interns was under individual mentors from IIT Bombay, so you will get the chance to work with experts from IIT Bombay. And along with that, we also had a lot of talks and workshops by experts that you can see here, such as research and paper writing for anyone who's interested in research, or learning how to stay committed with GitHub. So GitHub is a very powerful tool which we actually encourage to use during the eYRC. So this was a talk that was held regarding that, and many other talks on many topics. Speaking a bit more on the ELSI initiative, like I mentioned before, the main aim is to build a ecosystem in the local arenas amongst all the colleges that are there. MIT Manipal has an ELSI lab in the microcontroller lab in the mechatronics department. And coming to the general spread of ELSI labs right now, so you can see this graphic here that shows all the ELSI labs that are present right now. So you can see in Karnataka we have around 4 ELSI labs. Maharashtra has 5, and we are aiming to spread ELSI labs to more places across India. So this ends the presentation for e-Yantra. Thank you. If you do have any questions, please keep them until after the entire session, or you can put them in the chat box and we'll answer them after the entire session is done. So with that said, Tejas, if you would like to take over for us.
Yeah, sure. Hello, guys. 1 second, I'll just share my screen. Yeah. Hello. Visible, right? Screen.
Yes,
Yes.
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 Okay, cool. Hi guys, this is Tejas. I hope everyone is doing safe at home. So today I will be providing an overview of the robot operating system, or ROS in short. The e-Yantra competition, because of this pandemic, is now being conducted online, and thus places a lot of emphasis on simulating the application. Like, you will be developing the real life robot but in simulation, and ROS is like the real deal for this. And in many companies nowadays, like all the startups which are rising in India, they prefer ROS. So it's a good thing, like if you are really interested and if you want to deep dive. So before we dive into this, we must explore how and why ROS came into the first place. Okay. So uh, if we this is the list of image results when you search for the word robot. First, at the first glance, you will clearly see that all of them are built very differently from one another, although they are pretty much humanoid. At least in this picture, you have robots in all shapes and sizes with any number of legs or extra hands. So this brings about a lack of standards in the way robots are programmed to perform the same tasks. Each robot would essentially have its own framework, that is, it is tailored to that particular robot based on how it was designed and built by its designer. Because of this, code and data from one robot cannot be easily transferred to another robot, which would use a different framework. This gap in cross robot code is where ROS steps in to provide a common platform for all robots to be programmed on. What is ROS? So ROS, as I mentioned, it stands for Robot Operating System. But the important feature is that it is a meta operating system. It is not a real OS. It is kind of like a communication middleware between the software part and the hardware. The most important feature of ROS is how it functions as a meta operating system. When we think about operating systems, we obviously think of Windows, Mac OS, Linux, etc. So this is the thing, as I mentioned, that it is not an actual OS, but it depends upon Ubuntu to run. So hence the word meta operating system. These operating systems all have features that ROS also uses, like hardware abstraction, low-level device control to ensure user can control any device that is connected to the system easily, and package management to ensure add-ons. Uh, Add-ons or plugins to external software is neatly organized and accessible. These are not all the features, but these are the main ones. However, when there are when these are where the similarities end. ROS doesn't have a graphical user interface or GUI or any of the surface level features that are there in the other OSs. In other words, it has the base function of an OS, but not the form or and aesthetics. Hence the word. Like I was just explaining what meta operating system means. Okay. Uh, So user contributed software. Another important feature is this, that if you want to work on something, you won't have to reinvent the wheel. Like there are people who are working on it and you can just use that and you can build on it. Hence, this is a very important feature. Uh, Big advantage for us as this is an open source software. Hence, it helps in um, building easily and you won't have to spend a lot of time. So there are many such softwares like contributed software. For example, Slam controls manipulation, AI perception, computer vision, that is, and a lot more. So the ROS ecosystem. Uh, I'll talk about more about ROS in detail with relation to how it fits the whole ecosystem. Peer-to-peer communication. Coming to how actually ROS works, it uses peer-to-peer communication. If you are familiar with torrenting or blockchain, you must be familiar with this term. So these are square and circles are basically the nodes, and sorry, square is the topic, and that is the communication happening between these two. Like you send your information uh, through the node is the script and you write your code on it, and the other node, this is basically called as a publisher subscriber system, where one node will be publishing the data and the other node, which has to do the work, that will subscribe to it via topics, and then it does the work. So nodes, each process, or actually each program file, that is the script, gets it out little bubble sorts called a node. This is the most basic structure present in the framework and can send or receive data. Nodes can communicate with each other by pushing and pulling data using topics or services, which are similar to notice boards, where any node can pick up information from one node and from the other node, and these are the arrows that shows intercommunication between these. And another feature of ROS is that it makes it truly independent to support multiple languages. So like it supports Python, C++, and if I'm not wrong, even Java too. Just a second. See, Java, even MATLAB for simulation. Another result of ROS being free and open source, because anyone can contribute anything and the speed of development is exponential. So now coming to uh, the free robotics software frameworks, what we can use with ROS. So first thing here is Gazebo. Uh, this is this is a robot simulator and it has all the physics in it. Real time engines, you can simulate ODE, Dart, etc. So this is just a graphics for how it works. Now coming to this has environments in it, like for example, if you want to test your robot in a room, so instead of that, first you can try it out in simulation. Like you can build your entire room like this, and then the robot can move around. And the best part is that complete visualization is provided, as it is dynamic. See this, as we can see, the pick and place robot helps us. So it was said that the Mars rover was also tested in this. So how cool is that? Now, the second thing, for example, this is another example called Arvis and Move It. Um, Now, while Gazebo takes care of the simulation, Arvis and its connected library, the Move It motion planning library, are responsible for integrating sensor data and controlling the robot to perform tasks. The main functionality of Arvis is that what you see is what you get. Uh, so it's like seeing through the robot's eyes. Like you can see here, the camera is feeding the information and you're seeing it in your PC. Like this here, the right part is also in simulation, but still you can see the cameras. The robot sees it like in real life. It helps in sensor fusion, that is real-time integration. uh, this is the main feature. You can see that you can see the image here, which shows a city block as captured through a lidar, which is a device that shoots rays in all directions to map its surroundings. It's a very important component in mobile robots and self-driving cars. Motion planning, it helps in also motion planning, as the move it library is responsible for actually moving and controlling the joints of the robot, which up with appropriate speeds, forces, and so on, to perform manipulation of objects like pick and place and moving around the map. This also supports OpenCV, that is the perception package. Uh, However, now we'll see like what it actually does. Okay, so OpenCV, as the name suggests, is an open source computer vision software. It's very widely used for image processing applications like object recognition, tracking, image processing, etc. Uh, like you can see like you can see here, using OpenCV we can distinguish where the people are. This is a bit simplistic, but this can extend to very important applications like self-driving car. uh, so here, as you can see how it can identify people, cars, obstacles, and so on. OpenCV is essential if you will be working on on any project that involves um, a camera. So um, these are the just a few examples which ROS as an OS supports. Like these are the open source softwares which ROS supports, and it can help you in building your project from scratch. That too, you won't have to spend a lot of time um, in your building, as there are frameworks already available. You just have to build on top of it. So yeah, this is just a brief overview of ROS. uh, Back to you, I guess, Nihal. Hello.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Tejas, could you stop sharing? Okay, all right. So at the end of this orientation, you might have some questions. So I'll keep the platform open for any doubts or anything about, say, either ROS or the e-Yantra robotics competition in general. So you can either unmute yourself and speak, or you can type your question in the chat box and we'll read it and answer.
Oh yeah, I have a question regarding like what ROS version are they gonna use in the competition?
Okay, so I can say this for last year that we were asked to use ROS Melodic, which is the one that is compatible with Ubuntu 18.04. Uh, Now we might I'm not aware of what version they might use this year, but they might stick with Melodic because Noetic is technically more newer, so to speak, and Melodic is more stable compared to Noetic. And considering that we have students who have practically zero knowledge in anything regarding, say, even Linux or Ubuntu or ROS in general, so which is why they haven't gone with a more recent version. At least that was the case last year when even Noetic was a bit nascent. We might have Noetic this year, depending on how it works out. But yeah, for the most part, it would be melodic.
Yeah, as he said, like Melodic is the stable version, and since this is a live competition and stage by stage is there, so they would want to avoid what we say maximum problems. So I guess Melodic only would be used this year.
All right.
They do recommend melodic, but they aren't stopping anyone from using noetic, although they won't be able to provide any support for it. So during the competition, so I'll also elaborate a bit more on the competition since this topic came up. During the competition, you have uh, various forums or resources that you provide, like I mentioned before. So the first is a discussion forum for all the students, all the participants in a particular theme, where if anyone has any problems regarding debugging or any minor problems or any questions about, say, what a task is supposed to mean or something like that, so they can directly ask the forum, and students who either students or instructors who are assigned to that particular theme, they'll be able to help you out. So they will be providing official support for whatever the recommended software is. In our case, it was Melodic last year, but they do mention that you can use whatever you want. It's just that they won't be able to reliably provide any support for that. So in case you decide to use say Noetic and C++, for example, if you decide to use this setup, so they won't be able to provide support for that. The usual setup is Python, ROS Melodic, and Ubuntu 18.04.
Any other questions, guys?
Okay, we have a question from Tejas. How much or how deep should we know or learn before the competition? Like the basics to be known beforehand. So, like I mentioned before, you don't need to know anything at all. So, speaking from personal experience, I did not know anything about ROS or Linux or anything before I entered the competition, and I was still able to learn through the competition, and I was able to complete all the tasks that were there, and I even received a completion certificate. So it's not necessary that I need to know some basics for participating in the competition. However, yes, it will help if you do know this beforehand. So with that in mind, uh, we at MRSG Manipal Robotics Support Group, we are holding a workshop in the next week, a basic workshop on ROS and Linux and everything. So if anyone wants to get started prior to the competition, they can. Uh, all right, Akshat has a question. What are some of
So
the
yeah,
best resources? Yeah,
I'll
Tejas, I think you can answer
I'll try
this.
to answer this. Yeah. So some of the best resources, I guess, if you want to start out, is Wiki ROS. That website is like the Bible for ROS itself because there is no other form of documentation available for ROS as of now, and that is like the official website. It is very good to use that website, I would suggest, because they have tutorials as well. Like they have made a package, and line by line they are telling you to post that command in your terminal, and there they will help you to get it hands on. But yeah, it is about like how much patience you have to read and do it. But that is the best resource I would suggest. But on the other hand, there is a couple of courses on Udemy as well, but like again, it's up to you. Like how do you prefer? If it is a video format, then I would tell you to go for Udemy. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
And apart from the official resources that are there, they also, so participants in the competition are provided uh, a portal for just for them, which is available only for the duration of the competition, and you can access the resources that they have provided for the competition. So I'll elaborate more on this. The competition tasks are split into 2 3 stages at on average. Stage one is so-called the learning stage, where everyone is brought up to speed regarding whatever skills that are required for a particular theme. So in the case of my theme, Worry Keyboards, it was using ROS, Move It, and basic OpenCV. In the case of maybe some other themes such as, let's say, Vitra and Drone, they might have more advanced topics such as control systems or so on and so forth. So the specific skills to be learned will differ with each theme, but what is common between all the themes is that stage one is the learning phase where they will provide you the resources and even sample code snippets for you to help get around with ROS and any of the other systems that are required. Stage two is the building blocks phase where you will start to build over the learning phase that you just got out of, and you will be building small elements that will actually come together to form your final implementation. So if you are talking about say some application, the building block stage would uh, cover maybe say some communication workflow, or maybe making the gazebo world, or some ROS related scripts to run. So that is what is done during stage two. And stage three is, the final home stretch, so to speak, where you bring everything together, optimize the code so it runs faster, and then you grind out every single optimization that you can. Throughout the competition, they will be providing sample resources to refer to for each task. So you don't have to worry about scouring the internet for help regarding say what does this particular function do, how do you implement a particular concept. They provide uh, explanations, sample code snippets, even videos of how the sample output should look like. However, it is then left up to the participants to see how to optimize further from there. They won't give you the entire code, they'll give you the core concepts, and you as a participant will have to work on it yourself, combine the code snippets that are there, and further optimize it if possible.
So this also answers the first question, that is how much, like how deep knowledge is important, because as he said that the code snippet would be provided. So it would be good if you had at least programming, some prior programming experience, or at least like you should understand what is written in the code, and you'll just have to add on to it. So yeah.
Okay, we have another question from Mugala. Why have they asked our Geekpad scores while registering? What if we have to change our device at some point during the competition? Okay, so I can answer the first part. Being the reason they ask Geekpad scores is, like I mentioned, it is mostly online, and so being online, we would have to simulate our solution on our computers, and some themes may be more demanding, like systems
graphic
wise.
in
Yeah,
Graphic
maybe
intensive.
graphics intensive, or maybe more processing is required. So depending on the theme and what the requirements of the theme is, they will allot their theme to you. So you can't choose a theme, you will be allotted one based on not only your system specs, but also when you register, you are asked to fill out a personal profile of sorts, saying, giving information about your education status, say fourth year, third year, fourth year, or what skills you are do you have right now, and to what level, and also what MOOCs or any online courses you have completed. So they can form a better picture regarding what you are good at, what you're not so good at, and accordingly assigning your theme. So the Geekbench scores are essentially a factor in this entire allotment process. So it shouldn't happen that you would have the skills for a particular theme, but because yours or maybe your teammates' systems would not be powerful enough to handle that the implementation being done in that theme, you shouldn't lose out on a good placing or maybe even a finalist position because of that. So it's just an effort to mitigate that consequence. And regarding the second part of the question, what if we have to change our device at some point during the competition? I cannot provide an answer to that right now, because that would be more of a case by case basis. However, just giving a sort of disclaimer, you don't need a very powerful system. A usual student notebooks that are there, that with usual i3s or i5s, they will be able to handle. So don't worry that you need a very powerful system. Of course it helps, but it's not a requirement as such. And they also have an option, so in case you're able to uh, access college facilities. So in case you're staying near the college and you're allowed to visit the college, you can also request the ELSI lab facilities if possible by contacting Dadi sir, whoever is part of MIT Manipal right now. Python or C++, which would you suggest? If you are a complete beginner, then, and also from the point of view of the competition, I will suggest doing Python, because they will be able to provide support for Python, and also Python is easier to get into with respect to ROS as a complete beginner. Uh, However, from giving my personal opinion, you can start with Python and stick with it for the competition. But later on, after the competition ends and you feel you have gotten some skills that you want to delve into, then you can switch to C++ for a more responsive system, because C++ on average is faster than Python when you execute it in ROS. So in case you, and even in industries, they tend to use C++ more, because like I said, it's faster, so you get more responsive and accurate systems. So to answer your question, essentially start with Python right now, because the competition will also be able to provide you support for Python, not for C++. And later on, if you want, you can continue with C++. Okay, are there any other questions? Right. So regarding the resources that, coming back to the resources point that was mentioned, uh, so like I mentioned, they will be providing the resources only to participants. And before that, is there anyone who has not registered for e-Yantra robotics competition as of yet, or are still thinking to register? So I think I missed some points in my presentation, so I'll cover those two. Okay, we have one person. Okay, okay, all right. So as of now, just one person. So I'm assuming everyone is in some team or the other. So I'll talk about the teams and the registration process that is there. Begin with, teams require 2 to 4 people, uh, at minimum two. So it's not required to have a full team of to enter the competition. You can pair up with any other student from the same college, and you're good to go for the competition. And when you will be registering for the competition, and after fill out the payment fees and everything, you can find more details on the eYantra portal. Instead of me talking about it here, it's given more much better, in a much better format there. When you will be registering, you can use this particular code which I've put in the chat box, which is the campus ambassador code. What that does is it gives me an opportunity to measure how many teams have registered from this college, from MIT Manipal, and it also gives me leeway to suggest any changes in the overall working that is there for the Yantra, to the Yantra organizers. So given that, and also it'll allow me to provide better support to all the teams, since I'll get to know who all are participating in the competition. Uh, so you can use that particular code that is there while you're registering. After you register, you have this option to fill up, complete a profile where, like I mentioned, you have to fill in your Geekbench scores and everything. So while you're registering, you can use that code. And uh, so this is the entire registration process. And coming to the competition deadlines themselves, the deadlines are usually given in 3 weeks apart. So the first deadline would be maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. The next deadline would be 3 weeks after that, and so on and so forth. So the entire competition will take place in the span of maybe 2 to 3 months, starting from say October, since September is the uh, deadline. 5th September, which is tomorrow, is the deadline for the early bird discount. So you can register with your team at a reduced price. And also, students of MIT Manipal, since we have an ELSI lab, you also receive an additional discount on top of this. So if you have any friends who are interested in signing up, then do take hold of the opportunity. 5th September, tomorrow, is the last deadline for early bird discount. The registrations in general will be ending on 20th September. And after that, then give it 1 or 2 more weeks till the actual competition will start in October. And it'll take 2-3 months till January. At least that was how it went last year. So that was regarding the aspects of the competition itself and how it goes. Okay, so are there any more questions anyone wants to ask? Okay, so assuming no one has any more questions, and we shall end this session for today. Just a little shout out to Manipal Robotics Support Group for holding this event. If any of you wish to um, talk about robotics in general, or if any prospective e-Yantra participants want help during the competition regarding debugging any problems that you might have. Although yes, of course, to say this on record, you can't help each other with the task problem, since that would count as plagiarism. But yes, when it comes to debugging, any problems that you might get regarding maybe some minor errors in code and anything, we are there to help you with that. And also, we also provide a general uh, you know opportunity for you guys to interact with each other when it comes to the usual aspects of robotics in general. So you can follow us on our social media, Instagram and LinkedIn. And if anyone is interested, you can join the Discord server, which I've linked in the chat box. And with that said, thank you and have a nice day.
Bye, guys. All the best. Thank you for joining in.